many it's seen as many different things. For some, it marks the end of the creepiness that is, of course, October. For others, it marks the imminent spark of the fire that is, of course, the Christmas spirit. But for many, November is actually a different month because it's, of course, the time when we conduct Remembrance Day. And that's, of course, the day that we remember all the souls that gave their lives for us during the wars. But no, I think November is just a little bit more. You see, I think it's the time to remember a certain lesson that we learned during one specific war. What lesson am I talking about? Why should I be bothered by this lesson? Well, why don't I tell you a little story? You see, our story begins towards the start of the 20th century. You see, Europe and the world was a much different place. See, let me tell you. You see, humanity has been known throughout history for many different conflicts, of course. But the Great War was really different, you see. Why? No one could really understand why it was being fought. I mean, many historians have come up with different reasons throughout the years, but there just never really was a singular reason. Some say it was just the Kaiser wanting to take over most of Europe. Some say it was in retaliation for what they did to Franz Ferdinand and his lovely wife. But there just really isn't a single reason. There's always multiple different reasonings. And that's what makes the Great War so different from others. It was simply fought because it could be. And of course, it did bring a lot of damage. And when I say damage, I mean a lot of damage. And remember everyone, it's not just the Great War, it's every war. World War II, the Middle Eastern wars, the wars across Asia, the civil wars. Every single war always leaves destruction and death in its path. The world soaked in blood and empires crumbled because of it. So that's the question that this lesson asks you. Is war really necessary? All this destruction, what's the point? There's really no victors in war, everyone loses. You know, I once watched this little film, and it said that we humans, we call ourselves Homo sapiens, and that's Latin for wise man. But immediately when they said that, I sort of questioned something. Really? Are we that wise? Well, why do we start wars if that's the case, really? Are we really that wise? Is Homo sapien a false term? But if any of you are concerned a little bit, oh no, are we ever going to be wise? Of course we will, really. I mean, just because we've had a history of violent conflicts, that doesn't mean, of course, we're going to have a future of violent conflict. We could have a future of peaceful prosperity. Just imagine, if war, I mean, think about what Albert Einstein said. He said, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So, if war brings destruction, what would peace bring us? You see, when you think about it, Remembrance Day is that day to remember this sort of lesson. It acts as that little reminder. Since that 2 minutes, it really is the time where we can take a breath and really think about the lesson. I mean, it's an important lesson, isn't it? Actually, speaking of which, yeah, it's that time. Shall we begin? They shall grow not old, as weed that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. And at the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today. It will be nice one day when everyone in the world learns the lesson that we learned during the Great War and they remember it as well. I mean, just imagine what we could achieve if we chose peace over war. You can imagine all sorts of things. What if the world was a single country, for instance? I mean, what if we spent all of our money that we used to spend on the military towards things like healthcare or education? Imagine. Because remember this, everyone. The wiser we become, the less we forget.